Welcome everyone to the Screamcast, episode 179. I'm one of your hosts, Sean DeRager. I did the host fail last time, and I forgot to introduce the other guests, the other hosts of the show. So major apologies. I'm Sean DeRager, of course. With me is Mike Delaney. Hello, Mike.
Thank you. Major apologies.
Stephanie Crawford.
Hello.
Brad Henderson.
Did you introduce yourself twice just now, though?
Yes, I did.
He totally did.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
And, sorry. And with us, very excited to have these two back with us again, Barbara Crampton and Travis Stevens. So welcome to the Screamcast, both of you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We are, of course, talking Jacob's Wife. The new movie is coming out. The day you're listening to this or watching this, it is out. Watch it. We, of course, have viewed it, and we will be talking to Travis and Barbara about it, and I'm very excited to talk about it because I really, really, really love the film. So that's it. I want to open the floor to Stephanie, though, to lead us off with any questions you may have about the movie and any comments, of course. You know, I'm sick of hearing myself talk, basically, is what I'm saying.
Okay. Well, I guess congratulations on this film. It was so much fun, and it really is a Barbara Crampton film. Not to take anything away from the rest of the cast, but I know you've been with the script for a while. So what's that been like, that process from when you first ran into it to now?
It's kind of been a roller coaster in a way. It won Best Screenplay at Screamcast Film Festival in 2015. And it was a great screenplay. But as you look at things and as you think about who might be in them, you want to develop other parts of the story. And, you know, the story could have gone in a few different iterations, and it did at different times. We had one writer do some work on it, and he made it into a big blockbuster. And when we realized we couldn't probably fund that, we decided, we better make it a smaller movie. So we toned it back down, and then we went to a couple of other people before Kathy Charles worked on it, and she added in some things, and then Travis also came in, very close to when we decided that we had a script that we felt comfortable with bringing to directors, and we brought it to Travis, and then Travis says, well, hey guys, there's a lot of stuff that I want to do with this too. And I want to pepper in some stuff. Mostly I think about my character and Larry and kind of using us. And also Travis can talk better about this, using the vampire films that we all have grown to love over the past number of years, and sort of subverting some of the tropes and also using some of them, and highlighting aspects of Larry's and my personal relationships with our own spouses, and putting that into the script so that it really felt familiar and really felt like it was us. So there's a lot of us in the movie as well. It took probably 2 years of really working on the script before we brought it to Travis, and then he worked his magic on it. So it was a while.
I have a question, Travis. Go ahead, Travis. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, please.
Well, I had a question about as the director and as so many three screenwriters involved, and then everyone bringing their personal takes on things. How when you're directing something like this, how do you balance tone? Because what I loved about this film is there is you do play with tone quite a bit, because there is this commentary on a long-term marriage, and there's commentary on being a spouse of a pastor, of the whole of being in the church, but then there's also this mythology of the vampires, but then with all of that going on, some serious stuff, there is these little nuances of like the gore, the Fangoria gore flicks that we loved, that we all kind of loved, arterial spray and things like that. What was it a juggling act for you? How did that kind of come into play when in the planning stages and then even throughout the filming?
First, I just want to say thank you for having us on. I'm so happy to be back, and I'm sure Barbara as well, and talking with you guys. And I think, we made this movie in the spirit of like love and admiration for each other and for the genre. And so it's really nice to be here talking about it because we have that admiration for you guys. And I think conversations with you,
Yeah.
it's the same thing. It's sort of like, movies, horror movies, they're fucking great. Here we are. So, but to answer your question on tone, the sort of operating premise of this movie was to, at least for me, was to give Barbara some opportunity to show some acting in ways that we hadn't seen before, more introspective, interior stuff, more quiet stuff, which, is a more, naturalistic or more dramatic sort of style. And yet at the same time, we wanted this movie to sort of honor the movies that had put her on the map in the 80s in the horror community. So there seemed to be a logic between starting in one genre and when she gets bit, transform the movie into the other. Mm-hmm. That might not always work for everyone because, especially nowadays, movies tend to tell us exactly what to think right from the opening frame, and we kind of are in one sort of space for the duration of the movie. And this movie definitely, the form of the movie changes as the characters do. But that was the thinking behind it. Hopefully audiences enjoy that and enjoy not knowing what's going to happen next, because that's what Anne and Jacob's experience is. They don't know what's going to happen next. They get presented with this fantastic element, and it's absurd, and their world is getting crazier and crazier, and they're just reacting to it. And so that was the thinking behind it.
Awesome.
Yeah, I want to piggyback on that for a second because I was trying to figure out what Sean was asking because my brain got all distracted. But it landed on tone, and that was something that I really, really, really responded to in this film because, and I actually haven't read anything that anyone said about the movie, so please, if I'm speaking out of school here.
Everybody loves it.
Okay, all right. So I love it. I love it too.
I haven't read any reviews either.
And then here's a and why.
Except Stephanie's.
But one thing that I loved about the movie was the tone. How like when we first start and we're getting that great montage of Larry, preaching, and we're getting the face of the congregation. And Travis, you did a great job lingering on the younger the Black woman who's going to become very like the whole thing was set up in like such a non-comedically way that when it started getting funny, I was like, okay. Oh, this is funny how when bad things happen to me in my life, I think, oh, they're kind of funny. But then we go from like satirical, farcical funny to like when the Nosferatu like shows themselves and how it almost takes it to the next level of like what they do in the shadows. And I just loved all the across the tones from dark to light. I just loved all the nods throughout. So I don't have a question.
But I also think that after, Anne's world is kind of dull and boring and pale in the beginning, and even the look of inside the church and the saturation and the colors are a little bit, it just looks like there's something, it's not really rich. And then she gets bitten. And then the whole world opens up because she's has another chance at life. And so the world gets bigger and brighter and funnier and more dangerous and messier. And that's what living is. I mean, she's finally living. And so I think the world changes, as Travis was saying, along with her character. And, you know, when you're really living and when things are really happening in your life, I feel overwhelmed and I feel all consumed myself. Even now, just talking to everybody with the movies releasing, there's a lot more energy around what's happening in my life right now than my normal going to the store to get food for my family and cooking my dinner and, you know, doing my daughter's laundry, which she's almost 18. I've asked her to do it and she doesn't do it. So you know what? I just do it.
What
I just do it.
Fun, amazing time for you guys.
Yeah. So the world is opened up, and I'm talking to you guys, and we're talking to other people, and you know, we're tweeting along, and all of a sudden there's just all this energy happening, and the world is funny and different and more enlivened after she's bitten. So the world is going to change. Mm-hmm. You know, it kind of makes sense. It made sense to us.
It's a metaphor for the midlife. Too, because I mean, we've seen a lot of vampire films where it's a young person coming to age sexually, right? But a whole thing, and turn it into a metaphor for when you discover yourself as an adult. How beautiful is that? Meeting yourself as an adult.
I know. I don't think that it's ever too late to rediscover yourself and to have a new lease on life. And I think a lot of us get comfortable in our lives and we make decisions that feel safe because they're familiar. And that's what Anne did for her whole life until she finally wakes up. She has an awakening to herself. And I think anyone experiences those times in their lives when they feel like, you know, either they're giving over to their partner because, you know, they're shrinking or just their life feels small. And you can do it. You can grab onto things. You can break out of what your experiences are if you want to. It's your choice. And that's what the whole movie talks about. It's your choice. You have the choice.
Right. Yeah. No, and up until that beautiful ending, which I don't want to spoil, but yeah, no, you're totally right. And you said the expression "a lease on life," and I'm connecting it to your film. And maybe it's not even that your character needed a new lease on life. She needed to like own that life. Like maybe, because now I'm thinking of it, because Jacob has good things about him and he has his head in the right place. Like, but he doesn't know, this is brilliant. You want to own your life and he wants you to lease it from him still.
Yeah, there you go. You must, Well, I do think that he has something to learn through the process too. And I think that he starts enjoying his life a little bit more, even though he didn't realize that he would. He's becoming a hero and he's really seeing his wife for the first time and loving her in a way that he's really seeing her for who she is as a singular person without her identity being absorbed by him. And they both have an arc. They both change, and he's not wrong. He's not a bad person. Mm-hmm. And I've said it a couple times before. I really think that this, the questions of how we are in relationships and how we give over or not to another person, or somebody takes over and, you disappear a little bit. And how do you manage relationships over a long period of time, especially for Larry and I, who are both long married people? We had many discussions about this. The questions are as eternal as vampirism. And maybe that's why a vampire story is our metaphor.
I loved all the small nuances with you and Larry's relationship, like just in the bathroom, him brushing his teeth, the bed. There's all these little things and that are so true, and maybe that's why people were shocked when it started getting, this is a horror movie, because people were so, I think, because I was so invested in that relationship. And then I had to realize, yes, this is a vampire movie. Here we go. But those little touches were just fantastic.
Well, I think we got a window into who these characters were, thanks to Travis. And I think that he wanted to highlight that, the aspects of who these people were to one another, and just to really look at them. And he asked us different questions about our personal life. And there's some things in the movie that Jacob does that my husband does. My husband snores, and he's snored for 20 years. And he's never been to the doctor to see why he snores. I don't know. I mean, some people have sleep apnea, whatever. My husband doesn't know. He doesn't know. He doesn't care. He just snores. So I have to wear earplugs every night because I can't sleep, or I would be sleeping in another room. And, so Travis put that in there because that was something of my own life. And my husband, my poor husband, he's downstairs, talking behind his back. But he cuts me off many times when we're in a conversation. He talks over me. And I don't.
Well, to be fair, he's downstairs, so you're talking over him right now.
There you go.
Let's be clear on geography.
But I remind him of it all the time. And I'm very forceful as a person. So I don't hide behind him. But there's just little things that we all do. And I know that I do things that annoy him too. And I don't know what those are, but
anyway. None of us could guess what those would be. I don't think.
Yeah, but I mean, these are real people, and Travis should talk about that more. I mean, we're real people in this story.
And in real life, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting to sort of look at the house as sort of like a domestic battlefield. These two people are in this sort of like domestic Private Ryan, Saving Private Ryan, where there's all these landmines and quiet explosions happening, and they're just trying to get across the beach each day without stepping on any. And I think that's when a relationship reaches an unhealthy point. That's kind of what it is, where the two people are just getting through their life in the same space and they're not tuned into each other's needs or each other as much. And that's kind of what Jacob needs to learn in this movie, and needs to feel more comfortable broadcasting her needs and wants more loudly, and he needs to practice tuning in and listening. And so in order to get to that point, it was a lot of fun looking for in the first act, these little true to life, passive aggressive moments that couples can have.
Usually in this type of movie, Travis, they have the middle-aged couple like Larry and Barbara have kids, and they usually make it about the kids. Was there any iteration of this script where there were other children involved or something, and we pared it back to make it just about these folks? Or because I was always waiting for that shoe to drop.
Yeah, there's certainly been talks, and Barbara can speak to this more, of bringing a child into the equation and what that would do. And I think one thing we realized early on is the more we could strip away the external factors and really focus this story on Anne, and to a lesser extent Jacob, but the better. And that was sort of like the motivations shouldn't be about for protecting a kid or choosing between a male suitor or her husband or any of that. It's got to just be about her getting comfortable saying, this is what I want.
That's a good point. Yeah. Because with that male suitor in the first act. You're totally right. That's why you're the director, man. Doing this.
That's right.
I don't know anything. You settled this question.
Yeah. I mean, it's something though that it takes exploration, takes conversation. And that's anybody who's listening to this, who's going to watch the movie, they're just going to see the results of these conversations and these decisions. But the process of making the movie, what's really exciting are the conversations and working through that math and being like, well, what does this do? What are the implications of this decision? And, it's something that we put a lot of time and love into, and, I'm stoked. I'm sorry. Yeah. It's like the movie's coming out. Everybody seems to like it.
But no, Travis is right. Like we did talk about, putting a child in there at one point. We thought, well, maybe she tried to have children and they couldn't. But, maybe Jacob didn't want to mess with God's plan, and so they couldn't, they wouldn't able to go to a doctor to help them because, but then would that make Jacob out to be a bad guy if we did that? There was also talk about one of the neighbors and her having a baby, and maybe me wanting a baby, and would the neighbor come to the door, and I would hold the baby, and I would already be a vampire, and then people would be afraid that, oh, I was going to bite the baby, so we were trying to think of things how that would
gonna bite the baby, Barbara.
But then we scrapped all of those. We thought about them and talked about them, but we just said no, we're not gonna use those. So yeah.
I think it worked because for me, as a viewer, I was just kind of filling in the blanks of like a bunch of what ifs, and I found myself like even after the movie kind of thinking about it and like and all that didn't matter to the story or to your character, Barbara. It just didn't. There was enough there for us to really get who your character was, what the motivations were. I think everything else would have been maybe too much, but I did think about that, and I didn't.
Yeah.
I just kind of filled in the blanks,
Yeah, I mean, because we did think about that. Look, there's two couples. There's Jacob and his wife, and then there's his brother and his brother's wife, and none of us have children. But yeah, I mean, I'm always a fan of telling a simpler story. I feel like sometimes things do get too complicated, and so when we finally came to the decision of not having children, I was okay with that, because then it takes you into another different direction. If you don't explore that, then people think, oh, they're missing something. Why you didn't explore that? Where you showed us that and you didn't explore it. Then it becomes a different movie.
Right.
No, I think you guys really explored it. And I know I just had that question because it was so refreshing to not see it, to just have it be this more insular look at this couple without like muddying the narrative. But I had another question on that point, but I forgot it because I have ADHD.
Brad, you're awfully quiet tonight. I want to hear you talk.
I was just letting everybody talk.
I miss your voice.
Oh, you know what I was going to say? I know what it is.
There you go.
I heard Brad's voice and I wanted to just stop immediately. So you know what I was going to say? Well, I was gonna say, Travis, you have a jump in the movie. You have a scene in the movie that I thought was so fucking brilliant that's on par for me with like Exorcist 3, the great jump scare in the hospital in Exorcist 3. But it's
no. Walk that back before your listeners fucking just thrash us.
Sir, your Venmo payment already went through. You gave me I'm reading it now. This is on. We're doing it.
Oh my gosh.
So you have to Venmo Sean to cut it out. No, but the scene is when Barbara is like really turning into the having the vampirism, like in the house where her mouth has the caked like Joker makeup. You know what? But
it's burned. It's burned. Not Joker.
It's burned. Yeah. And Travis, you have most of the coverage in the scene is from outside, from the neighbor's point of view, who like it. I love how long the scene takes to play out because you actually get the dude like exactly when I felt so. The guy says, "Listen, it's feeling a little awkward right now," and I was like, "Oh yeah, I was about to say, Travis, it's getting a little awkward, buddy. We got to get to that." That scene was so good, but. Sorry, again, not a question. The thing that it wrapped around to for me though was one of my favorite episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer is this one called the Zeppo, where it's showing the craziest night on Earth, like closing the Hellmouth, but from the perspective of the tertiary characters, and then I was like, oh, this is that amazing epic vampire story. Just told through peripheral characters it's almost like I'm discovering movies for the first time as I hear myself talking out loud. And anyway, I just want to talk about your movie. Love it. I'm rambling.
I mean, one thing that we sort of discovered on set was this ability to, you want to kind of hang with these characters as they're discovering a piece of information. And that was an example of how long can you milk it before you give the punchline? And it's just dialing it in. And I think that the thing that I really enjoy about this particular movie is the punchline is Barbara Crampton devouring someone with this look of glee on her face, which is like, this is not your normal demon or monster or something that you see. The punchline is somebody that you care for as a character and care for as a person being like, ah!
Yeah. And that was, and I've said this a couple times, Travis knows this, that was a shocking moment for me too, because you only get to do these gags once. The cleanup was 2 hours on that kitchen. And so, everybody prepped me for it. Okay, the tube of blood is here, and, it's going to come out of here, and I don't want to, if people haven't seen the movie, I don't want to give it away. But anyway, there's, a hearty thing that happens in the kitchen with the neighbor. And I didn't know how much blood there was going to be and what was going to happen. And it was just like, oh my God. So the shock on my face is really real because I wasn't prepared. And maybe that's good. It felt like a surprise to me as well.
How much blood
finally, maybe I'll talk now. I don't know. We'll see. A few things. I'll talk for a bit because I usually talk a lot. So I think something that's special with this, Travis, is that, you have your first film that you did, and this is your second. Actually, wait, no, this is your second film, because you didn't do, you just wrote Summer's Moon, right? You didn't direct it.
Oh,
I hate to bring that up.
How dare you? I mean, this was going so well, and then just sandbagged. Oh.
So what I found interesting about this is, you have your first film that is very sexually charged, and in this one, it starts off as this, and this is a good thing. It starts off as this slow, like somber, like domestic relationship. And I'm just sitting there with the first 15 minutes trying to figure out what you're doing, which is good in retrospect, looking at the entire film, because it does show this boring side of your domestic relationships, especially marriages that have been on for so long. And then it really kicks into high gear. And it felt like a Travis Stevens movie in a way, with, rediscovering yourself as a person, also rediscovering yourself sexually, which I thought was a nice touch to this. Because you really don't see that side somewhat in older, with like you're between 45 and 60-year-old people in films. You don't see that sexual connection. And I guess that's what I'm getting at, is that, you're very good at this with, showing sexual sides in films. But, doing it in this one, it's done very well, in the sense it's not gratuitous. It doesn't feel out of place. It doesn't feel like it's not needed. It really is kind of this rediscovering of yourself, as a woman and as a man, on both sides equally. And I just want to see if you could talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I'd love to answer sort of generally, but and then turn it over to Barbara so she can speak more specifically about the sort of sexuality in this story, because it's something that she had very strong feelings about, and we really did work on a lot. But in general, I've not even just older people in horror films. I think in horror films in general, sex has become written out or taboo. And I can understand maybe there was a time where it felt extraneous to the story or something, and maybe it was a reaction to that. But I mean, where are the Hellraisers? Where are the movies that sensuality and that sort of desire is the pulse that's driving the heartbeat of the film? It's something that I miss in movies, and something that is a part of life, and I think
same here.
Be a part of horror movies, and will, always be a part of my horror movies. Probably it's a color that should be on the palette that you're painting with, in my opinion. Specifically in Jacob's Wife, I mean, all of it has to be in service of the story. I'm not just saying like, and then
right, yeah, no, absolutely, yeah.
But in general, like, it seems like people start painting without even that color on their palette. In Jacob's Wife, this is a movie about a woman sort of rediscovering her lust for life. So, of course, her own sexuality and sensuality is going to be a part of that arc. And Barbara, I'll turn it over to you, and then maybe come back around to it when you're done.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it when we were doing the final development of the script, and I think everybody was just being careful around me too. And I said, no, this aspect needs to be there. They need to make love. I'm sorry, nobody's seen the movie yet, but they do. And they, for a lot of reasons, I mean, she's rediscovering herself. She's rediscovering her sexuality, her power, her lust for life, all of that. And she also wants to bring her partner along with her. She doesn't want to leave him. I mean, maybe she will. We don't really know. Ultimately, there's chapters of this story yet to be written, and everybody at the end of the movie is going to have a different feeling about it. But I just thought it was really important. I was pretty adamant. I said, you guys, it's fine. We should have this in here. And if you all agree and we want to do it, I think we should do it. And everybody was like, okay, let's go for it. But we are in a period right now where people are treading on nudity and sexuality in movies very carefully, and for a lot of good reasons. And look, I was in some movies in the 80s where I think, some of the scenes I was in could be construed, and people could think that they were extraneous and not needed. And definitely there are some films that I have friends in, and it's mostly the women that were in movies that maybe you didn't need that. But if it's in service of the story, I have no problem with it. And I think it should be there. And and also for Larry as well, because, it's equal opportunity lovemaking in this film. And we wanted to make sure we had that as well.
Yeah, no, I thought it was interesting, and, try to be spoiler free as possible. But I found that whole scene very enthralling, just because there was just so much from both sides. And it was gratuitous. It's not even the right word.
No, it's not. I don't think it is at all.
It's not gratuitous at all, but it showed enough to show a very sexual side to it, but also very much as these are two people kind of rediscovering themselves and their relationship. And it was just, I just felt like it was a very, very important scene on a multitude of levels. One, from a filmmaking perspective, from a story perspective. But, it's just, and Travis is right. And that's the reason why I brought it up, is because I've seen so much like online, like polls, like, is sex scenes needed in movies? And I just think it's the most outrageous thing, because if it is, there's a reason for it, of course there is. I'm not just talking about shower scenes with women, but if there's a sex scene between two people and there's a relationship there, it's incredibly important.
It's something we do all the time. So it's part of life. I mean,
right. It's like, or the shower scene in Gus Van Sant's Elephant. Like, I couldn't imagine the movie without the shower scene in Gus Van Sant's Elephant. You guys think I'm joking, but I'm being serious. Well, I'm being serious. Do you remember the movie Elephant?
I don't exactly remember the shower scene in Elephant. I've seen. Well,
I'm not going to bring down the tone of the show right now, but
what happens in this shower?
I've never seen it.
It was a multi-layered joke. I'm going to pretend like I didn't say anything.
Okay.
If I can just add another thing, which is, in Jacob's Wife, there's this progression that leads up to that scene of her and Jacob rekindling their passion. And there's a couple of important steps. And the first is the temptation that her old flame represents, allowing herself to act on that. And then she stops that. But then there's this important scene in the middle where the master character seduces her to feel herself, which is this big step towards, I think Anne had sort of shut down or had felt shut down. So there's this moment of seduction where the antagonist in the movie is basically saying, hey, feel yourself, like reconnect with yourself, literally feel how your hand feels on your skin. You're here, you're present, you're a human being. It's okay to have these feelings. And like, that's the type of stuff that isn't in a lot of modern genre stuff, because it's not stuff people are interested in or financing, I guess. I don't know why it's not in there, but it's like, this is what drama is, and this is what art is supposed to be about. So yeah, I don't know. I found it fascinating. And that's one of my favorite scenes, both in performance and in sort of, what it represents to the overall story, is like a woman taking a moment for herself to remember it's okay to feel good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think another important part of this movie is Tara Bush's score. There's so much lingering in the background with this score that it really fulfills a lot of scenes and carries certain scenes. There's a very kind of mysterious sound that is happening in the background in this, and obviously it's intentional, but it has this very kind of gothic feel, while the movie looks modern. And everything about it is kind of modern, even though it feels like it's somewhat set in the 90s. But there's still kind of this gothic-oriented score that feels like from the 60s and 70s. And just wanted to see if you could talk about that a little bit, because it's uniquely composed for something of this nature.
It's like modern and timeless at the same time.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Oh, I'm sorry. There's the delay. I said it's like modern and timeless at the same time. Like, it's very, very unique. I loved it.
Yeah, that was the approach across the board, which is to do something new that has the DNA of things that have come before. And so whether it's the production design and what cars we're using and landlines and that, it is present day, but it has the feel of a classic movie. And part of that's in just pure aesthetic preference, but also it's in service of trying to evoke these movies that Barbara had, sort of splashed on the scene in, trying to capture a bit of that flavor in our story. And that went with the score as well with Tara. And when you're working with a composer who is using synths, a lot of the more contemporary versions of it have a very specific sort of carpeted drone, sort of almost sound design aspect to it, which can be evocative, but it did not fit this movie. This movie is big and bold and colorful and jagged and explodes. And so we looked to the Friday the 13th scores, the scores that had space in between the notes, and the notes were timed to certain moments and certain cuts, and a new sound would come in. And so it's got melody, but it also, a lot of the work is in sort of the editing of the melody so that it's really working in picture. And that's something that Tara Bush excelled at, and it was so much fun. She came onto the project at the writing stage, So we had so much longer to work together than you normally get with a composer. And I think that's why the score has so much personality. And that's not to diminish composers who work with less time, but it was something that certainly, I think, made a difference on this one.
Yeah, it was very Charles Bernstein-esque, it felt, to where the score itself is a character in the background, which you don't really get. I mean, we do have these great bombastic scores and, these creepy scores, and there's so much fun with music, and none of that's wrong. It usually works out really well. It's just different movies have different, with the score, it has a feeling, and it felt a little voyeuristic in a sense, kind of in the background. And, and it's very low too. It's not very loud, but that's what I liked about it, is because we are dealing with shadows. We are dealing with vampires. We're dealing with creatures that have lived for centuries in the shadows. So it doesn't need to be right in your face. It does need to be reserved in a sense. And I think that's what was so unique about it. And that really kind of sparked a lot of my interest with the film.
Well, she should be really happy to hear that. And the first decision was knowing that I wanted this score to have a feminine quality to it and really sort of try to put the audience in Anne's head. And Tara is a vocalist as well as a composer. So literally we were able to have a female voice as part of the score, which is something that you normally wouldn't necessarily have. And then just as well as the perspective. And, she related to this story and had a deep personal connection to it, and is also a goth kid from the 80s and came to work each day honoring that history and being like, if I'm doing this, it's gotta be right. So.
And how was it working with Marcus again with his blood cannon? Did he have his blood gun or blood cannon on set? Because it sure looked like it.
We had to design some new ones for this. It's good. I mean, sorry, and Barbara, why don't you talk first, and then I don't want to keep on.
Well, I mean, again, I would just say dealing with, these blood gags, and I find it fascinating. I love practical special effects, and, Marcus is able to really invent some wild things to get the things done that we need to. And there's one shot of my neck with these pulsating holes in it, bite marks. And, if I told you how we accomplished that, you wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe it. I don't even want to give it away because it's
Wait, were you bitten by a vampire?
That was it.
It was just how we did the close-up of,
Wait, that's how you did the close-up? You actually got bit by a vampire? I don't believe it. I don't believe you, Barbara Crampton.
Yeah. But,
Marcus is the master.
Yeah, so everything was like, every day you come to work and you go, oh, this is what we're doing today. And so anyway, the close-up of the blood, the close-up of the neck thing was a completely separate piece from my neck. It was over here. And I had to put my hands in my neck over here. And then they shot it as if I was holding my own, pushing this into my own neck, but I was actually doing it over here. It was amazing. I didn't know how it was going to work, but it works. And then just where the tubes of blood are going to be and where they're going to come out of your mouth and how they're going to come out of your mouth and what we're going to do. And just, And I mean, and Amelia, the dear Amelia we had in the film, Naisha Bell, who is also a victim, supposedly, of the master. And what happens to her and her makeup was just insane looking. So I think Travis and Marcus know each other very well, and they had a lot of fun together.
Well, we live together because it's the most efficient way. Like, Marcus probably feels terrible every time I text him and say, "Hey, are you available to work on a movie?" Because there's so many special effects gags in these movies. And so we lived together. It was him, his partner Jesse, who was also working in the makeup department, and myself. And so we would shoot and then go back to the house and then work the second shift, sort of working on getting the stuff ready for the next day or the upcoming week. And, you know, I don't know if people understand just how hard that department actually works, because there's not just the day of applying a thing and then making it work. You have to set your mold, you have to build your molds, you set your molds, you got to check the molds, like all the steps leading up to having an appliance that'll actually work on the actor is man hours. That means the person's not sleeping. And so I would try to cook dinner. There was a lot of beer that was drank. We would try to watch movies on the weekend to sort of rest the brain, but it became like a battlefield triage unit, like MASH, the opening of that TV show MASH, where there's just dead bodies and fake blood everywhere, and you're just trying to get the tomorrow's gag done. And often a thing isn't ready, and you've got to figure out another approach. But in terms of this one, you know, the big sort of discovery was he found a brand new on the market industrial pump and reversed the engine on it so that it would blast blood out. And that is how we got our volume, a bit of MacGyvering. And, you know, they would say, like, oh, how much are you thinking? Like a gallon? No, a lot of blood. Oh, like 5 gallons or whatever. And eventually we just had a kiddie pool filled with it and just
yeah.
Keep going.
It's just so nerve-wracking all the time as an actor, because you want the gag to go correctly, because it is a lot of cleanup, and we didn't ever have to do anything twice. We didn't go, oh, that didn't work. Okay, we got to reset. We never did that, because it always worked. But you have to think in your brain, where am I in the movie? How am I feeling? And oh my God, is this blood spray that's supposed to come out of my mouth going to mess up my hair? Is it going to start getting in my mouth? Am I not going to be able to talk? Is it, you know, you're bracing yourself that it's all going to work well, but it takes that preparation on set.
Well, you know your hair is going to look amazing even with all that.
Yeah, it's nerve-wracking, but it's fun. I've been working with practical effects my whole life, so I really like them. I really enjoy them, but it's really nerve-wracking for everybody.
Yeah, the first movie set I was ever on was 100 Tears by Marcus.
Mm-hmm.
And I was on set one day with a guy that was helping with bringing Marcus some lights, and we were there, and there was just so much blood. It was for, you know, I was always big on practical effects too and love it in movies, but being on a movie set for the first time and something super independent, I mean, I still think that's one of the bloodiest movies ever made. I was just so taken back, and watching Marcus through the years has been so fun. So from starting off so small to doing, you know, this type of stuff like We Are Still Here and now Jacob's Wife, and working all this stuff in between. He's still doing super independent stuff like with the American guinea pig stuff over here with Steven, and then doing his own thing. It's just watching him grow and being crazy has just been a lot of fun. So knowing that he was a part of this, I was already intrigued because he's got such a good touch.
And beyond what he does as a sort of a craftsman, besides just being really, really good at his job, there's a whole sort of world of horror that you were just talking about, like the movies that he makes and the American Guinea Pig, and that I want that energy in our more mainstream horror movies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, you know, A24 horror, I love it. You know, mainstream studio horror, sure, it's good, but there's got to be room for that gonzo, raw, like fuck you American horror.
Yeah, we should call it elevated horror.
It's something
Take it and elevate it.
You know, there's a conscious decision that you're going to get when you bring somebody with that background in. You're going to get, it's going to be a little more raw and a little more, you know, punk rock, and the movies benefit from having that energy.
Mm-hmm.
No, that was I had the same. I was on the same page because I was doing something myself, making a short film, and I had Christian Stella from The Battery and After Midnight shoot it, and it looks super well polished, because he's got one of the best eyes out there. But then when it came to effects, I was like, well, Marcus, because he's dirty.
Yeah.
Blend the two together. It's
dangerous. That's what it is.
It's like super edgy, that way. And just Marcus is just you're right. He's a craftsman. He's just he's insane.
Oh, this is your friend Dirty Marcus you were telling me about, Brad.
What?
The friend you were texting me about, Dirty Marcus? You were telling me all those stories?
I mean, that could be Marcus. He could be Dirty Marcus. I don't know.
Oh, all right. Screenshot it.
Hey, Steph, we haven't heard from you in a bit.
Wow. Yeah, I'm just enjoying everyone.
Did you want to add anything?
No, see, you put me on the spot. Well, okay, I was kind of curious. So it's Friday night. Everyone is streaming Jacob's Wife. But it's Friday night. You don't want to just watch one movie. We're not amateurs here.
Want to have some fun.
Perfect double feature with Jacob's Wife. What do you guys recommend?
I have mine already because I had vibes the entire movie.
No, Travis and Barbara, please.
Okay, then I won't say mine.
No, you can go after.
You go first.
I don't know. That's a question I haven't thought of. That's a good question.
Okay, Brad, I guess you can go while she's thinking about it.
Well, I mean, let Travis go. I think Travis already has his answer here.
Okay. So a perfectly great double feature would be another Barbara Crampton classic. And I think watching, one of the Stuart Gordon movies and this back to back, you'd be like, I get it. These complement each other. Hopefully, that would be one experience. You could also do it. You could watch Jacob's Wife and Vamp. I don't know if anybody's ever seen that vampire movie, Richard Wank's Vamp.
That's
Grace Jones.
Yep.
A perfect Friday night movie. Yes, absolutely.
Which has the other guy in it that's in your movie. He's in
Russell, yes.
Yeah, Rob Russell. Yeah.
That one plays with tone too.
It's on Arrow Video in HD. Anyway, Vamp is great.
I think if you were sticking with that vampire double feature, Bill Gunn's Ganja and Hess. Sort of that explores the relationship impact that vampirism can have.
Okay, I got one too. Now I thought of one. Thanks, Stephanie. Okay, at different times I've thought, well, this is kind of like the grown-up version of Let the Right One In. The relationship.
Yeah, I hear it. Yeah.
That the young vampire girl has with the person who is taking care of her, the older man, and then we realize later on in the movie that he was young once too. Like the new boy that she befriends, that then becomes her caretaker, and in the relationship that they have and the dynamics that they have, and because really both films are relationship movies, Jacob's Wife and Let the Right One In. So how about that one?
And really astute viewers might notice that the skateboarders in Jacob's Wife are named Oscar and Ellie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or they might not at all notice that.
Yeah. I don't think anybody's brought that up ever.
Oh,
yet.
We got scoop. I noticed Kinsky County.
Yeah.
I mean, that's for me. The humor in that version where he's just a maniac. Kinski's just a fucking maniac in that, and just a menace. And that was the energy I wanted Bonnie Aarons to sort of play with, which is, sure, she's there to sort of help Anne blossom a bit, but I wanted her to have that sort of manic quality to it. I think that's an incredible movie.
That's awesome. Can we talk about Larry
All right,
Fessenden?
Steph, since you brought it up.
Oh. The delay.
I will
ruins the
go last
questions.
because I asked the question and someone actually chose mine. So now I'm scrambling for another one.
I have an odd one. And I'm there's probably no connection here, Travis, at all. But it's with the fever dream like quality that the film has. It reminds me of don't laugh. Some of the Children of the Corn sequels, especially part 2, because there is this fever dream like quality that the film has where it's very uncomfortable looking at times. Especially the sequences in the house where the light is glimmering through the windows and, Barbara's in the kitchen. And, of course, the whole preacher aspect, because in Children of the Corn 2, the guy has that knife. He's drilling into the voodoo doll and the blood starts coming out of his nose profusely. And it's a very uncomfortable movie. And I felt a little uncomfortable at times when, Larry is giving his, or Jacob is giving his, sermons. That's what I felt. I mean, I'm sure that there's maybe not a connection there, but I do like that uncomfortable. I'm always attracted to the, kind of the preacher church aspect because I've always been uncomfortable at church. And when I see it in movies, I get uncomfortable. But it's just the way it's shot. Very, it's very close. And the idea that his shirt, of course, was all the way up and you could see his neck like muffin top and over. It's just he looks uncomfortable, and it's just, ugh, yeah.
Wait, is that what muffin topping means?
Muffin top is usually your pants and your belly. But the shirt is way too small for his neck. And whether, I don't know if that's intentional, but it shows this uptight, uncomfortable person. And by the end of the movie, he's not like that. So it's loose and he's more free. And even though it's only one button that changes that all, but it's very noticeable in the movie for me.
Well, it's noticeable for me too, because my brain's trained that character trait to a Lynchian thing, where I'm always looking how buttoned up is somebody, and then how do they appear at the end of the show or the story.
Yeah,
and
that was
Lynch is always one I could track with that.
That was definitely a conscious decision, and I think it leads to probably the best double feature you could do, which is Jacob's Wife and Larry Fessenden's Own Habit, because there's a vampire movie where you get to see Larry Fessenden be a wild man from the beginning to the end, and it's one of the greatest alt vampire movies of all time. And I think it would be fascinating for people to see what a the differences between his performances in those two movies.
I loved Larry in this. I loved how, because I loved how reserved he was. I loved but he still brings this presence to you. I mean, I really believed him as this pastor. And at first, when I saw the poster, I was like, I'm not going to buy Larry Fessenden as a preacher. Are you kidding me? And he is from the first moment you see him at the pulpit. I was, he landed it. I mean, he's such a great character actor anyway. But
we wanted to give him something that you haven't seen him in before. And, you know, we had been talking to Larry about this part 2 years before we even made the movie. And we weren't sure we would be able to use Larry or get Larry, but he was always at the very top of the list. And he frequently plays that third, fourth, or fifth, or 10th banana, and he just comes in and gets killed, or he plays some sort of ruffian with a muffin top, and then, you know, you don't see him after a while. And we just thought it would be a nice showcase for Larry also to have this part, you know, and Larry's and my histories are very similar in a way. We've just been part of the horror genre for a long time, and we're both long married people. There was just so many things about Larry that just seemed so right. We'd work together, and we were still here, and you're next. And I don't know. And we know each other, and we're the same age, and we run in the same circles, and it just made sense. It just made sense to have Larry. But I'm so glad that you thought, oh, I don't buy Larry as that. And then when you saw it, you really believed it, because we all felt the same. You know, we all knew he could do it. He's a great actor.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
glad people can see that.
Wonderful actor.
Yeah.
You know, that was actually going to be I needed to find a way to ask this, but is Larry like an intense guy? Is he kind of a scary guy? Because I met I know John Dahl through some people, and like I asked John Dahl about Ray Liotta. And I'm like, hey man, does Ray Liotta like scare the shit out of you? And John Dahl's like, no man, Ray Liotta's like a nice guy. And I'm like, I don't know, man, like he scares the shit out of me. And Larry Fessenden's kind of like that with me, because he's kind of Jack Nicholson, and he's kind of like, I don't know, man, he's like this, like that movie Jughead. He was so good in that.
I know.
I think he's great. But
Larry's very nice, and Larry's very nice and kind and a sweet person. There are times when Larry can be a little bit aloof and not be around people. There's times when he kind of prefers to be on his own. But if he opens up to you, he's a big teddy bear, total big teddy bear. So loving and kind and fun. And that was one of the things that we wanted on the set too. We wanted everybody to feel really comfortable in the cast, and Larry feels like family to us at this point. And it was important to have a cast that all got along, and we felt like we could all feel like very lived in with one another.
Yeah. I'll go even further. Like Larry, you're not just getting an actor, you're getting somebody who really wants everyone to succeed. And so what he's bringing is not just preparation for the job he's doing. He's bringing this warmth and jokes and energy that picks everybody's spirits up. He knows that. He knows how tough it is to make a movie, not just for the director, but for the grip and the electric and the craft service person. And I think it's one of his, nicest attributes is that he will take the time to give them a little lift. And it makes a difference in how the process is, not just in how people feel, but how everybody feels at the end of it. Like you really have. He's
like our John Cassavetes.
Yeah.
I'm actually just starting to connect. I'm like, oh, that's right. Larry's been all over there. Yeah.
He's great. And we've been saying this a little bit, but I think both Barbara and Larry have used their years in the business for good. Yeah. And they're at the point now where if they can help somebody out, they do. And that has real value into this world and to this genre. And I feel super fortunate to have benefited from it, but it's wonderful to see other people benefit from it every day as well.
It's really great when you see that because, like, you know, I mean, even on the last podcast I mentioned author Brian Keene, how he is the way in the horror fiction community.
Mm-hmm.
And I mentioned you, Barbara. I said, well, Barbara's that way
Mm-hmm.
with you know, because every time you're on set with a new director, I mean, you take the time to, you know, post an Instagram picture of the crew, of what's going on, and it's just, you just have that spirit about you, and even you, Travis, like, you're very collaborative, and you want to bring people with you and up with you and help people, and like,
Yeah.
those types of attributes are just fantastic, especially in kind of these genre circles that we all travel in, you know, because you're only as good as who you're working with, really, sometimes, and especially in something collaborative, you really need to be bringing people up with you, and hopefully they ride along with you, you know.
Yeah, we need to lift each other up and support each other. We need to talk about things that we think are great, not just the things we're involved in, but what other people are doing, and that's an important part of life. I mean, you have to make sure you take care of everybody around you, and yeah, I like doing that.
I used to feel that way, and then Brad brought up Summer's Moon. So now
Great, Brad.
Yeah.
We had a good vibe going.
Man.
Well, I'm pretty sure I've mentioned it every time you're on the show, so you have to expect it at this point.
Well, at this point, humanity can go to hell.
Well, it's
All right, Steph, you can't get away from your movie with your double feature at this point.
Okay, well, it might be because everyone starts saying Larry a lot,
Yeah.
but I'm going to say
Larry the Cable Guy, Delta Farce. I was going to say the same thing.
I am just going to quit if men keep talking over my movie titles.
And scene.
I'm just going to roll out. Okay. A Return to Salem's Lot,
Oh, okay.
Larry Cohen.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think after your movie, I just watched it for the second time. Like, it gets your blood up. It's really exciting. You have an emotional catharsis, and it's incredibly gory and bloody and energetic. Why not watch Sam Fuller hunt Nazis and vampires right after?
Well, he's not a Nazi hunter. He's a Nazi killer.
Yeah, he's hunting Nazis and vampires. And Tara Rita's in there, which is always a bonus, occasionally a bonus. It's a bonus in this one.
That's what I'm doing tomorrow. You just
Tara Reid?
said weekend plans. That's amazing.
I'm glad you took it for the compliment it was made after, because I really love that movie.
Well, it
feels like there's a big callback to Salem's Lot in there when the vampire's in the background and you can see the eyes glimmer big time. I mean, but yeah, that's one of the greatest shots in the film too. I mean, there's a few really great shots, if that's a big one.
One of the most fun things about working on this movie with Travis was that we revisited all our favorite vampire movies, and then we even watched some that we hadn't seen before, and we talked about them. What are the scenes you like, and what do you like? What do you think about this, and what about that? And we just, and that's how Travis decided to use the rat element, because we realized, we've seen that a few times, but not enough, and let's bring that in, because that's something maybe we need to see again,
Yeah, classic that's fallen out of fashion. It was nice seeing that again.
Yeah, rats and sex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's why we all love the genre. Come on.
But that big scene with in the factory with the rats and the sex and stuff. Were we calling the Mangler there? Were we going back to Graveyard Shift? Those were the vibes I was getting. I was having fun with it.
Definitely felt like that. I was like, okay, maybe the video stores are a little too apparent. Video store shelf is too apparent in this production design here.
Well, I think that's a big part of it, Travis. And it's, I'm always one to call, even if I like a movie, I'll call it out. If I really hate the wink retro stuff, and it's back in a big way, and it's fun. Sometimes it really is. And it's a good time seeing it, and callbacks are always fun.
Brad.
but there is this element to where it is lazy sometimes, where you just throw it in because, that's hip, it's fun, this is what I grew up on, this is my homage. And there are a lot of Wink Winkison movies, but I really, other than maybe the Salem's Lot callback, there really wasn't anything that really stuck out to whereas like, look at me, I like movie type thing.
Yeah. Well, you're supposed to be processing your influences and creating something new from them. Yeah. You're supposed to be contributing your own DNA to the thing, and what you squeeze out is a new creation. Mm-hmm. And there are people who do a very, very good job illustrating the movies they like, and I don't care about that.
Right.
I want to see something new, and that's what we try to do.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I had a question about the vampire teeth. I do have, if you've listened to the show long enough, you know that I have a weird fascination with teeth. But I always have a fascination with vampire teeth. And how much of a discussion was it? Like, are we going to go with like the canines? Mm-hmm. Are we going to go with the front? Are we going to do something different? How do they come out? Do they swap? Do they, and there's just enough in this one to kind of like at the dentist to kind of give like an idea of how it possibly could work, but it's not like True Blood where someone goes ha and like their teeth just come down. But I think I love the subtleness to it. But how much in a vampire movie, how much discussions happen about the vampire teeth? Because I would.
Wait, hold on, Sean. Sean, is
about
part of this you're just confused about how vampires go to the dentist?
Yeah, that's part of it. Yeah. What's their dental coverage? Okay. I mean,
Just to be clear.
What if they need a root canal?
It was it kind of happened kind of funny, at least for me, and maybe this isn't a good reflection. I'm trying to find the picture, but basically, I found a picture of a rat's mouth and turned the picture upside down, and I said, "That's how I want our vampire mouth to look." And that was the design element I gave to Marcus and those guys. And then you're sort of like, oh, and that's kind of what they were doing in the classic designs. But it really started from once we brought the rats in, and I was sort of getting in the vibe of rats and stuff. I came across this image, and it was just a super close up on a rat's mouth. And I turned it upside down, and it looked almost vaginal. which was something that I was like, oh, that's interesting, because I knew I wanted this vampire to, it was going to be a woman. And so, yeah, it went from there, and people seem to really enjoy it. And yeah, it's weird because once you think of vampire teeth being that way, now when I see more classic teeth, I'm like, that doesn't look right.
It does not look right.
What do you mean? You open your mouth and
get a good bite?
Things drop down? Like, what? That's silly.
I know. I agree with you. That ours feel more authentic to me in a funny way.
Well, yeah, I guess it goes back to the classics, and honestly, we've kind of went away from those classic films, Nosferatu and Vampire and all those films back, way back, and we've developed the kind of this, 70s, 80s vampire thing, and we haven't really looked back. So it's just another like kind of callback to that without, like I said, winking at the camera, but being new, being fresh, but also feeling familiar. And I think that's the important part of that stuff, because inspiration, nothing's really original these days. As far as stories concerned, we're all playing off of, what we love most, but it's about turning it into your own thing. And some people are very successful at it. Some just, it's like, oh, well, there's another Carpenter reference in this movie that I'm watching. We we get it. You like John Carpenter, that type of thing. But yeah, no, it's fun to watch kind of filmmakers grow from all over, and just yourself, Travis, from doing a movie that we'll never name again in this podcast to producer in some really heavy and hard-hitting films, and supporting all these people around you, getting into your own feature film from 2019 and into this. It's fun watching filmmakers mature in very many scenarios. Even actors like Barbara just from. It's like every time at this point, it's like every 2-3 years you're in something that's completely different. And this is one of those movies to where this is something you've never done before, which is nice,
I'm excited to see where she goes from here, because this is such a big sort of showcase for her. I'm really excited for the scripts that are going to come across your desk moving forward. And I'm excited to see you in so many different types of movies and types of roles, because I think people are going to be like, we need her in our movie.
You're next,
Barbara
Barbara.
Crampton.
Yeah.
You're next.
I'll be next again.
You're next, again.
Barbara. Yeah.
Thank you.
But in this case, it's your next, K.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a sick pun,
Well,
Travis Stevens.
I might be going to Twitter.
Yeah. Well, I will say not to dampen any of our lively moment, but to also illustrate the point that it took me a while for somebody to say yes, that they wanted to make this movie because it was about an older couple and an older woman. And we don't often, we often don't see movies about older couples. I was really buoyed by the fact that Relic came out recently and, was about the younger girls, the daughters' reaction to their mom. But at the forefront, there was this older woman who had Alzheimer's. And then we saw Anything for Jackson a few months ago that came out. I love that story. And that was about grandparents. And then we have this movie, which is about an older couple. So it took a long time for me to find a production company that wanted to make a story about an older couple. And then when I finally did, they were all in. AMP, Productions, and Alliance Media Partners. They were all in. But it was tough finding that. So, you saying that, Travis, I think, that'd be great. And the whole movie is about that, opening up, Anne's expression to the world and reinventing herself and finding her voice. And, will people want to ask me to be in other movies? I mean, you say, oh yeah, the scripts are going to fly my way, but I don't know that. I don't know if that's true.
They better. Or I'm
I don't know.
I'm like Lone Wolf and Cub and just start knocking on doors being like, there's Barbara's TV series where she plays
Yeah, Barbara, your friends have the #1 movie in the country right now.
I know, Adam. Yeah, that's true. I'm very proud of Adam and what he's accomplished over the years and where he is now. It's really amazing. But I mean, let's see what happens. I don't know. I did, since it took me so long to make this movie with Travis from the time that I first got the script, there were times when I said to myself and my family, and I said, if I never make another movie, I just want to make this one and I'll be good. If I can just make Jacob's Wife, I'm done. I'm fine. If that's all there is, I'm good with that. So we got here, Travis. We did it, and so we have that. And we'll see what comes from.
That's awesome. Well,
maybe something, maybe nothing.
It's a fantastic
I think
film.
A lot of it has to deal with, and this is a positive thing, but there is this kind of resurgence, and I know you can speak on behalf of this, is that, we have a lot of these, younger upcoming, directors and whatnot. And it's, edgy to put Barbara Crampton, Michael Berryman, Felissa Rose in your movie, because it's like, it's cool, it's retro.
Well, that's what they did in Your Next. That's why they had me in Your Next.
And it's one of those things to where, these people can still act. It's just it's not really a cameo purpose. And I think, with your comeback and doing that, it has been fun to watch you come back in a big way again. Coming from the 80s, doing the soap operas, and then, kind of coming back into horror with like You're Next. But, and to kind of speak maybe what Travis was saying a little bit is, it's just not beautiful Barbara Crampton making a cameo in my movie. It's more or less like, she has skills. And I think this does kind of open a window for you to where, I mean, you're fucking ripping the head off of somebody and blood's spurting in your face. I've never seen that before from yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that is, the range is obviously there. It's just now maybe people get to see it or be reminded that it is there. And it's just not, cameo for these, actors that have been, that we grew up with, that are between the ages of 50 and 70 years old. I think it's important that, this is an important role for you.
Yeah. Well, there's
and
the moment.
I know you probably have seen that from the beginning.
Yeah. Well, there's the moment when Barbara, your character and her, it was a high school sweetheart, are in the restaurant talking, and we see you processing what you're saying, because you're having these memories, you're having these things flood back. But it's like that scene, that quiet scene, the way you project how you're trying to process this information just through your eyes and facial expressions. I don't know if I've ever seen that from you in a film, and I'm like, have I not watched enough Barbara Crampton films? Have I not, what? But that moment, I absolutely loved that dinner scene with you and that, and I don't know the actor's name. I'm sorry.
Robert Russler.
Robert Russler.
Well, I think, Travis really tried to illuminate that, in that scene for us. So I give a lot of thanks to Travis for that. And also we had an A and a B camera for most of the movie. So in that particular scene, excuse me, I have a hair in my eye. That particular scene, oh my God. I can bite somebody's head off, but I can't get the freaking hair out of my eye. With an A and a B camera, we were able to, I don't know, Travis, I actually don't know. Was that one take? Was that one take from both of us, that because we didn't marry different takes together?
No.
Was that from the one that you liked the best?
That was part of the approach to shooting the movie, was in order to give us a chance to maybe get some truth from the performance like that. We brought in 2 cameras that we could shoot both actors at once, which would allow us double the time.
And we're really reacting off what the other person's saying. Mm-hmm. So in those moments when you might see that glint in my eye of recognition of, oh, I'm thinking about something, it was in direct reaction to what Robert just said to me. It wasn't Frankenstein from another take.
Yeah.
It was from that take. And I found that very valuable. I don't want to work another way again. I only want to work with A and B camera at the same time. I think that's really, really helps the performances.
Yeah. Because there was absolute truth there.
On this one as well, was giving the actors room to go off script, improv a little bit, get a bit more ownership over the of the scene, so that even if it doesn't end up in the movie, the performance, they're making connections and drawing some stuff that maybe gives the lines a little bit more life. And so both in that scene in particular, both Barbara and Robert had really come up with a big, long backstory on their relationship, that there were takes where they went into that really extensively, and it was all new material to me. This was 2 actors working on their characters and designing a backstory for their characters together. And it's like, we improv. I don't actually know if in the final take those were some improv lines, but we improv a lot in the different takes that we shot of that scene. And that really loosened us up too. Really made us feel like we were really there with one another.
Yeah, there's a sequence in there with you and Robert where you first go in the warehouse and you know, there's that kiss, and then you pull away, and then you kiss him. But when you're kind of walking, when you walk down the steps, and you know, you're on the ground, and you're walking, there's a very like teenage-esque thing that you have going on with your face, your eyes, and you're very bubbly, and like, oh, this is fresh and new, this is happening again. And then it completely changes to where, you know, you're exploring your womanhood, and it's completely left that alone. And I just thought the transition, you know, from being a boring housewife that's needing more to still wanting more but discovering yourself. Yeah, it was just like, it was cute.
It was cute,
not cute at all, but there's that cute sequence.
Yeah, I thought in that one scene that that's probably the way we acted when I hit him, and I go, "Oh, you're terrible."
Yeah,
like that's what she would have said that when she was a teenager. Don't do that. Come on.
Yeah.
You know, that's how maybe we were back in the day or something.
No, absolutely. And I think it adds a lot. And, you know, it shows that tonal shift. I mean, there's a lot of tonal shifts in this movie, but that's definitely one of them that really stuck out for me. Because I was kind of, where's playful Barbara Crampton coming from here? And then, you know, 15, 20 minutes later, you're lifting up furniture with bloodletting playing.
Yeah, we have to give a shout out to Robert Russler though, because I really thought he was a fantastic choice, and Travis didn't find him because he's always existed, but he met him at a screening and called me up and said, you know, I just met Robert Russler at the screening, and I don't know, what about him for Tom? And I thought, oh my God, he's so cute and handsome. I would have loved to have had a thing with him back in high school. Yeah, get Robert Russler. And he was just so, I don't know, so present as a performer. Don't you think so, Travis? He was just so really wanting to play and really there. And he just, and you know, I hadn't met him before. I of course I know of him for years, but there's certain people that I've worked with in the past couple of years that I guess I grew up in the business with, but I didn't know. And Michael Pare, I've worked with twice now, and I didn't know him when we were both in the business at the same time. And Robert Russell, I never met him, but he was perfect. And what a wonderful
How do you meet Tom
acting
Cody
partner.
but not know Tom Cody?
What?
Michael Pare, right? We're talking Streets of Fire.
Yeah, Streets of Fire.
Yeah, Tom Cody. Like, big character. You knew him, but you didn't know him.
I never met him personally.
Oh, but
Is what I'm saying.
You watched his movie. Oh, okay, I see.
No, I knew him as a performer. Who doesn't know Streets of Fire? But,
right. Well, I know him personally. We have Thanksgiving every winter, and
yeah. But anyway, no. But it was nice. Robert Russell was just really. I just thought I was so happy that he was Tom. You know, because he really was a person for a few days that he was on our shoot, that I could feel myself. Oh, I could fall in love with this guy. I could see myself, you know, in my younger days would have been in love with somebody like him. I could see that. I could feel that. You know, he was a very generous performer as well. I think you can tell that in the scenes we had together.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, he carried some movies. He carried Sometimes They Come Back for sure, because that movie's awful, but he's so good in it. He has a very it's funny because he can be very charming and very caring, but he also can be very sinister at a drop of a hat. And I think that's what's, you know, kind of unique about him.
Yes.
Wait, what movie? The Comeback?
Sometimes they come back.
He's like
Oh no.
Well,
Okay.
You know, and also, I mean, Robert Russell. You were supposed to think that maybe he was the one that had, you know, attacked Amelia, the girl that goes missing in the beginning of the movie. So we wanted the audience to think, oh, Tom is dangerous.
Yeah.
Something's going to happen to Anne if she goes out with this guy, Tom.
His very first shot is him like drinking, like in the back of the bar with this like super mysterious look going on to where, is he an alcoholic? Is he just like, just a kind of a bad things are going to happen. But yeah, no, there's a couple like little things in the movie that add so much flavor to it.
Yeah, you felt like he really lived in the character, even for the small time that he was on screen. You really got who he was as a person and what the history was with Anne and he. And I really think that was all Robert. He really brought that.
Yeah. Well, we need to start wrapping up, everybody. It's been about an hour and a half. So, Travis and Barbara, you have been very generous with your time. Thank you so much for hanging out with us and talking about this film. I want to open the floor to, if anyone has any lingering questions, now's your time to launch them into the ether.
Yes, I do, Sean. I was muted. I was trying to talk over you. I was trying to be. I'm sorry. I was trying to be rude, but then I was muted, and now I have to apologize for not being as rude as I thought I was being. But Travis, the one thing I want to say before we get out of here, because I don't want to give it away for the audience, but man, between you producing Cheap Thrills and then you directing and producing this, you've given me two of my favorite like final freeze frame images from some modern films. I'm a big fan of like the freeze frame at the end and you just hold it for the whole credits, and you fucking nailed it twice, bro.
Yeah, I love the final moment of our film too. I love it.
All goes back to hard boiled. just trying to
absolutely. Yes, sir.
But thank you. The next movie, the credits,
bro, freeze frame the whole thing. Make it so like the best movie ever would be that Beck video Devil's Haircut, and then they just freeze frame it in the middle of the movie. And then there's this credits at sometime later.
Oh God.
I'm old and did not get that reference.
I don't even think Mike knows what he's talking about right now. This has been an
Romano video
with you
called Devil's Haircut.
I'll look it up on the internet.
It's somewhere. So where can people? I know it's going to be streaming everywhere. Where can people find Jacob's Wife? Is it going to be? I know theaters are weird now. Is it going to be in theaters? Is it streaming only? Where can people find Jacob's Wife?
It's in wherever your premium independent films play. It is in drive-ins. It is in Alamos across Texas. It is in a couple places in Los Angeles, Vineland Drive-In, Cine Lounge Drive-In, and Lemley's North Hollywood. New York, they're still working on booking. But basically, if you've gone to the movie theaters to see a independent horror film in the last 5 years, there's a very good chance this one will be at that same location.
Cool. And it'll be at the same time on like Vudu and Amazon Prime or Amazon. You can rent it on Amazon. All that
for those of us who prefer just sitting on our couch with a 6-pack of beer and a big sandwich, Vudu, Amazon, and any other VOD provider.
Awesome. All right.
It's in your TV.
Big sandwich.
I don't even eat sandwiches and drink beer on my couch to watch movies, but it sounded like a thing.
It sounded good. Some beer,
your movie sandwich.
Yeah,
I'll have a movie sandwich.
I do like sandwiches, so I'm like, that sounds damn good.
I love sandwiches. A big sandwich just sounds really good.
Yeah,
it's the movie. It's a big sandwich.
Yeah, like a Dagwood.
Well, Barbara and Travis, again, thank you so much for joining us, and we can't wait to have you on again. So, of course, we're always keeping track of your work, and I'm sure we'll talk again very soon.
This was really fun. Thanks, you guys, so much for having us. Really, we enjoyed it.
And congratulations for getting back on the air. This is fun.
Yeah, we're back, bro. Thanks, Travis.
Nice.
Oh, don't tell me you're leaving. The party's just begun.